What's up, guys? Erebus here. It's doing something a little bit different today. There's going to be no battling or combat or PvP, anything like that in this video. Sorry if you don't like that. That's for you. But in all seriousness, I just wanted to make a quick video to show off my builds, just let you guys see what I have, what I'm rocking with. First off is a Mad Hollow. He's so level 1. He's always going to be so level 1. So I started off as Deprived so I could have a base 10 in every stat, and that's where that's going to sit. Now I'm also doing so I've created this character because I wanted to do a soul level 1 Broken Straight Sword run, which I'm doing on Twitch currently. He's got his Broken Straight Sword and a small leather shield for parries. The run is still underway. I haven't gone through too much of the game yet, so as a result, the armor and the rings are probably going to change. This is just what I've gotten so far. In terms of armor, this guy will probably always be either naked or very close to, just for aesthetic's sake. But the rings are definitely going to change. Probably it'll be a setup that you're going to get familiar with real quick going through my different builds. But, you know, some combination of Ring of Favor, Prisoner's Chain, Hornet Ring, stuff like that. So ignore the rings, but everything else is pretty much what it is. I do have a couple things in the inventory from just picking them up. Really never going to use any of them, so doesn't really matter. At some point I might use other weapons with this character, but with the name of Mad Hollow I pretty much have to use Broken Straight Sword, so that's pretty much what it's going to be. Okay, so next up we have Got Darkhand over here. He's level 18. If I didn't mention before, and I don't think I did, we're going to go from lowest to highest soul level in order of characters. So, God Darkhand is soul level 18. The stats are there. Mainly a vigor build with a little bit of vit, and I think it's 1 point of vit. And then the rings boost that up to 16, and that's why the endurance is boosted as well. Got some points into strength and dex so I can use the weapons that I want to use. So let's get in there. So I've got the Raw Dragon Slayer's Axe +2 with an offhand Fire Dagger +2 for riposts. I also on this character have a Rapier for chase downs, an Executioner's Greatsword +2, because I haven't used the Executioner's Greatsword really on any of my characters, and I thought with the helm that I'm wearing, it suits him. And I've got a Deep Longsword for some dark damage, and also Longsword, because Longsword's super helpful. I do have a Dark Hand because of this character's name, but I really never use it because I hate fist weapons. I'm terrible with them, and so I really don't use them. I've also got a Sunlight Talisman that I can't use, which we'll get to in a minute, and I use a Target Shield for parries and the like. I have a second Target Shield on here because I might do some double shield trolling at some point, but I'm not sure yet. Now with that Talisman, you can see I've got Force at the ready. Also unable to use that. We'll get to that. For fashion, I'm wearing the Executioner helm, the black hand armor, and the black gauntlets and leggings. I just think this looks really cool. So, for the most part with my fashion, I just settle on things that look neat. And I thought this was cool, so here it is. I've got the Life Ring +3 for some extra health. Knight's Ring, so that I can use the weapons that I want to use. Because at level 18, I don't have enough points to put in strength and dex for the weapons that I want to use. So the Knight's Ring lets me use those. I've got the Prisoner's Chain and the Hornet Ring. I've got a few variable rings in here as well at my disposal. The main one is the Priestess Ring. So that's why I have my Talisman I can't use with my spell I can't use. I can just swap over here to the Priestess Ring, and we're good to go. Now, unfortunately, when I do that, I then can't use my weapons. So if I thought I was going to have to use Force, I'd have to switch to the Rapier or the Longsword to make up for not having the points and strength that I would need. I do also have the Ring of Favor +3, Silver Cat, Obscuring, and Untrue Dark Ring, just to have them. I like to have pretty much all of these rings on every build. I don't use them all the time, but I like to have the option. Alright, moving right along, we've got Tri-Finger Butthole. It's so level 36. Pretty comparable to my level 18 build, honestly. A lot of vigor, a little bit of it. I did put a little endurance in them, and then those stats are also boosted by rings. Got a bit of strength and dex just to use what I want to use. Getting into what I want to use, this character's main weapon is absolutely the Dragon Slayer's Axe. This level is about the end of where the Raw helps. Once you start leveling a bit beyond this, Raw becomes inferior to scaling damage. But at this soul level, it's still pretty good, so I've been enjoying that. Got an offhand fire dagger for ripostes, of course. Now on reserve here, I've also got a claymore, deep mace, heavy spiked mace, and a poison pike for chase downs. Shields, I have a couple in case I want to switch it around, but I feel like the iron round shield works best with this fashion, and I've been really happy with it, so unlikely to change anytime soon. As for said fashion, we're rocking the Millwood Knight helm, dark armor, and gauntlets and leggings of thorns. I thought this just looked really cool. The branches coming off the dark armor seemed to go really well with the Millwood Knight antlers, so I thought that was a good duo. And then the thorn stuff is on there, partially for getting damage out of rolls, but also mainly because the spiked mace is incredibly heavy. So switching to that is going to put me up to 69.4% equip load. So unless I want to start having to remove things or, you know, swap to a Havel ring or something when I want to use the mace, gotta travel a bit light in the armor department. As for rings, we've got the Hornet Ring, Ring of Favor +3, Prisoner's Chain, and Life Ring +3. I've said it before, but these first 3 rings here you're going to see a lot of, so get used to that. I also on this character have Sun Princess, Chloranthe, Havel's, Night Slayer, Silvercat, Obscuring, and Untrue that I can switch to as needed, if needed. I rarely use either of these 3 or the Night Slayer's ring. Typically, if I'm switching, it's to Silvercat so I can make a jump, but I like having these on me just in case I encounter a need for them. And onto legitimate quote-unquote builds that actually have stats. Here we've got Get Low. He's my level 60 strength character. He's got a fair amount of vigor and endurance because he uses large weapons, so stamina is required. A bit of it as well, but the rest of the points pretty much just got dumped into strength. So let's take a look at what he's got. He's rocking the Heavy Great Club +6. This club is outstanding. I've mentioned it in videos before, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. I do have an offhand Chaos Dagger because, of course, I've got a Llewellyn Shield for parries if I want to go for them. Depends on who I encounter. I'm not necessarily looking for parries with this character because he's just a big strength poise man, but I like having it just in case. You know, as for alternate weapons, I've got a Deep Longsword, Heavy Wing Knight Twin Axes, and a Rotten Grew Spear for chase downs. I've also got the Millwood Great Bow at the ready in case it becomes useful, which it does on several occasions. For fashion here, we're rocking the Sellsword Helm, Cathedral Knight Armor, Gauntlets of Thorns, and Knight Leggings. The leggings you can't really see anyway, so I just went with what had relatively good stats. Gauntlet of Thorns just because A, I like them, and B, roll damage. Cathedral Knight Armor I thought was pretty fresh and exciting. And yeah, it's got pretty decent stats as well, so that's a good selling point. The Sellsword Helm I primarily wear so that you can see this character's beautiful, beautiful face. You miss out on that great bowl cut when he wears it, but you can still see the gorgeous face and mustache, which is the important part. For rings here, I've got Hornet Ring, Ring of Favor +3, of course Prisoner's Chain, and Havel's +3 so that he can carry all this ridiculousness on him. Now I do have rings on reserve just in case I need switching. Pretty much the same ones that you've seen already. Sun Princess, Chloranthe, Silvercat, Obscuring, and Untrue Dark. Alright, next up with the last of my quote-unquote held-back characters where I don't go all out with them is Caliente. And as you might imagine, he's a pyro. So I went ahead and split Int and Faith at 35 each to do some good damage. Minimal points in Strength and Dex just to use some weapons. Good bit of attunement and as much vigor as I could afford after all that. So looking at what he's got going on here, he's got a Demon Scar +4 so that he can cast his sorceries. Yeah, right, his pyros. All he's got is Black Flame and Chaos Bed Vestiges. I find that the Vestiges are a good bait, much like the Barker Bomb bait. The Vestiges work just as well as a bomb would in that instance for some people. And Black Flame is amazing. It combos to an extent and does a ton of damage. It also breaks shields. It's just it's a hell of a spell. So I've got those. I do have a Chaos Dagger in my offhand for riposts and a Buckler. This character is absolutely a crit fisher. So all about the parries and the backstabs. He's extremely squishy, so there's not much else he can do. And while Pyro is outstanding for, group or gank situations, for invasions and duels and stuff, a lot of Pyro spells can be avoided. So Black Flame is probably one of the few useful ones in duels, but a lot of the other spells are pretty easy to avoid. So this guy happens to go for a lot of crits. Now on reserve, I've also got an Onyx Blade, because Onyx Blade is a pretty outstanding weapon for Pyro. I've got a Chaos Zweihander, which I can two-hand, just not one-hand. I was messing around with a Blood Whip. Don't think I'll ever use it, but I've got it, just in case I feel ridiculous. And a Lothric Knight Shield. I don't know why that's in there. Must have picked it up as I was doing some farming or something. Under the fashion, we've got the Ragged Mask, Grave Warden Robe and Wrap, and the Loincloth. This is both some pretty cool fashion that shows off his nice red exterior, and also is incredibly light because I like him to have the under 30% roll. His rings are a little bit different. He does have Hornet, of course, for those criticals. But aside from that, he's got the Great Swamp Ring, Witch's Ring, and Sage Ring +2 for faster and stronger casting. Now, in terms of what's on reserve, I've got Knight and Hunter's Ring in case I need a bit of extra strength or dex. Sun Princess Chloranthy, Havels, Ring of Favor, and Prisoner's Chain. Untrue, Obscuring, and Silver Cat, which are all staples that you've seen a million times by now. I also have an extra Hornet Ring for some reason. Guess I recently picked it up. Alright, next up we've got Jane Doe, my SO level 90 dex build. She's got a lot of vigor and a lot of dex, and not a whole lot of anything else. Because that's really all you need on a build such as this. So on this character I've got a Sharp Lothric Sword. Starting at level 90, everything's going to be +10. Not holding back anymore on the weapons because there's really no reason to once you get to this level. So I've got the Sharp Lothric Sword. I've also got a Sharp Astora Greatsword. In my reserves here, I do have a Chaos Dagger, but I don't really use it for her. The Sharp Lothric Sword gets a pretty excellent critical on its own. So I don't really find the need to swap. Those I picked up somewhere, so they're just in here. I do have a Deep S-Stock for chase downs. Dragon Rider Bow just for poking at people. Might end up using the Avalon at some point. It's not upgraded right now. I don't have bolts for it. So it's a ways off if I do choose to use it, but I've got it in the event that I want to. I've also got a Saint's Talisman +10 for good old force once again. As for the fashion, we're rocking full Wilhelms with the Black Hand hat. I feel like it's a pretty good duo. Somebody told me it looks like Zorro, and now I'm kind of obsessed with it because it absolutely does look like Zorro. So that's awesome. Rings, same old, same old. Hornet, Ring of Favor, Life Ring, Prisoner's Chain. Next up is McStabby. He's at SO level 101. You can see the build there. I can't even explain it because I don't really know what I was thinking. I do actually know what I was thinking. I wanted him to stab people with a Great Lance because it seemed like a good idea at the time. And I also wanted to make a Strength Faith build. And ended up just kind of spreading those points all over the place. I don't know what level I want to take this guy to. I don't know if I even want to keep this guy around. So he might disappear at some point, but for now he's here. So as mentioned, he's got that Great Lance +10. In reserves here I've got a Sunlight Straight Sword because Faith scaling, Black Knight Sword, Herald Curved Great Sword, Split Leaf, and the Crucifix. Crucifix isn't fully upgraded just yet, but I'm getting there. Also got the Saint's Talisman for casting for the time being. And Shield of Want just for PvE. As far as the fashion, we got the Archdeacon White Crown, Archdeacon Holy Garb, Lapse Gauntlets, and the Leggings of Favor. I feel like it looks pretty decent, pretty cool for a Faith character. As for the rings, Knight's Ring for a bit extra strength, Lingering Dragon Crest Ring for buffs, Ring of Favor +3, and the Leo Ring for the Great Lance, because holy crap, does the Leo Ring help with the Great Lance. Got a lot more of the same rings that you've seen time and time again, so nothing too interesting to see there. As far as spells, he uses Tears of Denial. I've got Great Heal on there, and the more important one is Lightning Blade, which is a nice buff, particularly for a Faith character. Makes it nice and tasty. AR 571 on the Great Lance, just from that. So yeah, like I said, don't necessarily get too attached to this character because I don't know how long he's going to be around. But I might be able to reconfigure the build a little bit and use him for some things, but we'll see. All right, next up we've got Dark Fatty. Dark Fatty is my meta character. He is a strength build through and through. Look at that, 66 strength. Look at that piddly little 16 dex. Who needs it? He has Mr. Meta Guy, so lots of fun there. Using the Heavy Exile Greatsword. I also have a Barbed Straight Sword on his side so that if he needs to go full Straight Sword tryhard, he's got that option. Don't really do that too often. Don't use the Llewellyn very often either on this chap specifically, but it's there in case I need it. In terms of inventory, I've pretty much kept it to what he's got on. I do have a Millwood Greatbow just in case, and also a Lothric Knight Shield just in case. But I don't really use any other weapons on him at the moment. I did have Leto's Great Hammer and a couple other things, and I just recently removed them from the inventory because I wasn't really using them. So it's possible I'll use other things at some point, but right now this is all he really needs. As for the armor, we're rocking the Alba Helm, Exile Armor, Havel's Gauntlets, and Wing Knight Leggings. Just looking for that sweet, sweet poise without, putting too much of a strain on the weight. And also, his name is Dark Fatty. He's got to wear fat armor. So the Exile Armor was guaranteed. That had to be there from the beginning. For rings, we've got Ring of Favor +3. I do have the Havel's +3 on him, so we can wear all this fat stuff. Prisoner's Chain and Obscuring Ring, because I like starting with Obscuring Ring in Gank City, and that's typically where he hangs out. I do have Untrue Dark and White Ring on him, Silver Cat, these pretty other standard rings, and he also has the Wolf Ring +3, just to boost that poise up to 46 on occasion. Just if I feel it's necessary, which is very rare. And here is the penultimate build here, Lord Peastain. That's still level 151. He is an intelligence-based character. Look at that, 60 int. Beautiful. He started out as a pure caster. I've now put a little bit of points into strength and dex. You can see he's got a Murakumo here. So I'm getting a little bit away from just casting because it's not great for PvP. But I've got this Murakumo here. I also have a target shield for parries. Got a Chaos Dagger for riposts. And I've got my staff over here as well. So real quick before we go into the inventory, the spells I have here are Crystal Magic Weapon, which is excellent for an intelligence build. Got the Homing Crystal Soul Mass, good old Crystal Soul Spear, Great Soul Dregs, and the most important spell, Chameleon. Yes, this is perfect. So getting in here, some of the offhand items that I have, I've got the Moonlight Greatsword as well, because that's another thing that just scales wonderfully with intelligence. The Murakumo is sharp because I have a little bit more dex than I do strength, and sharp was going to do better than refined. And specifically I wanted to be able to buff it with Crystal Magic Weapon, so I didn't want to give it a Crystal Infusion. Crystal Sage's Rapier, primarily just for farming. Don't really use it in practice, but I have it, I guess, if I need it as a chase down weapon for Pokey Pokes. The staff I'm using is Court Sorcerer's Staff, +10 of course. Simple target shield for regenerating FP. I do also have a Llewellyn shield, but it's a bit heavy for the armor and stuff that I like to wear, so I don't really use it. In terms of the armor, we are rocking the Dancer's Leggings, Silver Knight Gauntlets and Armor, and the Silver Mask. I just think this looks really nice together. I think it works really well. And the dancer's leggings are the one slightly odd part about it, which I needed to go with those for weight, but I think it works pretty well overall. In terms of rings, we've got Lingering Dragon Crest ring +1 for the buffs, Sage ring +1 for faster casting, Bellowing to improve sorcery damage, and Hunter's ring to boost dex. Do also have the usual rings that you're used to seeing by now, but I don't really use them much. And yeah, Sage and Lingering are +1 because I haven't bothered to go through the new game cycles to get the +2s, and haven't asked anybody to drop them for me yet. So those will probably be upgraded at some point, but he's at +1 for now. And last but certainly not least, we have my original character, my quote-unquote main, if you will, Sir Grim. He's an outstanding soul level 548 on the way, the journey to 802, because why not have at least one max character? Look at all those 99s. He's got tons of points and everything. He doesn't have a build anymore. He began as a strength faith build, but that was a long time ago. He hasn't had a real build in a very long time. And for what I'm using on him, I got the Sunlight Straight Sword and Blessed Llewellyn Shield combo. The Blessed Llewellyn will regen HP, and Sunlight Straight Sword is just a great straight sword for a faith build. I've got the Chaos Dagger for riposts, and Sunless Talisman +5. Specifically, the Talisman is for casting Force, and I also have Yorshka's Chime +10 for buffing via spells. For armor, we've got Lorien's Helm, Undead Legion armor, Firekeeper gloves, and Night leggings. This is just, I think, beautiful fashion. This is 100% fashion. There's no functionality in this armor whatsoever. I just like the fashion of it. I like the way it looks. For rings, I'm using the Lingering Dragon Crest +2. Obscuring, because I was in Gank City and like to have Obscuring on when I first load in. Silvercat for the same reason, and Hornet. I do also have Wolf Ring +3 if I want. Untrue Dark Ring, Sun Princess Chloranthy, and Night Slayer's Ring. You'll notice I don't have things like Ring of Favor and Prisoner's Chain because at this level it's barely necessary for most things. I might end up popping them on anyway because in Gank City, you know, everybody does everything to the max, so I might end up putting them on, but not yet. Now, as for what I have in my inventory here ready to go, I've also got a Black Knight Sword. I was messing around with the Wolf Knight Greatsword. Don't really like it, so probably will never use it, but was messing with it. The Refined Lothric Greatsword, which is, it's one of my favorite weapons, this Lothric Greatsword here. It's just a beautiful weapon. Tons of damage. It's refined, so it gets a ton of scaling off that. With buffs and everything, it's just outrageous. So I love that. I have also been messing with the Farron Greatsword because it's not actually a bad weapon. People use it poorly, but it's not a bad weapon. So I've been playing with that. I've got a Millwood Great Bow in case I want it. Avalon for my offhand in the event that I need it. And Wolf Knight Great Shield because last time I was on this character I was dropping that for somebody. So that's about it with the inventory stuff. In terms of my spells, I've got Dark Moon Blade, Soothing Sunlight, Force, Sunlight Spear, and Tears of Denial. I rotate the spells out a lot because he can use any spell, so I do tend to rotate them, but that's this is probably more or less what I'm settled on, at least as long as I'm rocking around in Gank City. But yeah, so those are the builds. Hope you enjoyed checking out the characters that I've got, and hopefully you'll be able to see all of them in videos, either that they've already been in some or will be in some soon, or both. Yeah, at any rate, that's all I got for you. Have a good day, everyone.